Ooh, welcome one, welcome all to the Expansion Pass. Thoughtful discussions on gaming without the console war noise. Please make sure you're subscribed to be it on iTunes, Spotify, or right here on YouTube. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the Insipid Ghost, as always, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. This week, we are tracking Xbox's next generation with Project Helix, the launch of Bungie's Marathon, and there's new reporting out that PlayStation may indeed be stepping back from PC releases. What makes this fascinating is that the biggest companies in gaming may be headed in completely opposite directions. Xbox moving closer to PC ecosystems, while Sony reinforcing the traditional console exclusivity. Somewhere in there, Nintendo exists. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right. You know, I had I get like seasonal migraines. So every time there's a big shift in the weather, which if you've noticed, I'm not wearing a hoodie for like the first time in months. The weather's been fantastic. I've been loving the weather. I've had the window open for the last 24 hours. But usually every spring and every fall, when there's a giant shift in weather temperature, my brain freaks out and decides to try and kill me. So I had to sleep off a migraine yesterday. That was like, I don't know. I think I was like comatose for at least half the day. And then I woke up feeling like I had been through like the biggest workout I've ever had. And I still feel it. Like you have like that soreness in your back and the tension in your muscles. And you're like, man, I put in a good workout. I feel ripped. And then I'm like, nope. No, I'm still the same weight I am. I just had a migraine. That was all that. So yeah. That's been what was going on in my week outside of just work, which has been a big shift. I've been doing a big changeover from what I normally do to a new position. It's just kind of temporary. So I've been learning like a whole bunch of stuff about QA, which is oddly like similar to when we're doing like game Q&A for games. So that's been weird. But that's been my week. How's your week been?
It's been good, very busy. The seasonal shift as well is happening here. We had snow 2 weeks ago. Now pollen is raining down upon us and it's 80 degrees. So I'm enjoying that North Carolina vibe, as it were. That always brings about, frustrations and difficulties when you're teaching kids or working with different people. Cause again, everybody's got seasonal allergies and then mood shifts that come from that, to include myself, and just managing and navigating that while also, and I don't mean to like accidentally just loop straight in, but like also navigating all of the rapid change that it feels like we're seeing for those that are tuned in on the consumer side next to playing games. You know what I mean? It's really fascinating, but can't complain. Wouldn't help if I did. A lot of really good things going on, and so I'm working on focusing on that stuff. But man, it's been a great week for me gaming wise, although emotionally tumultuous. Right. And I know we're going to get into it. I know we're getting into it. I'm really excited later this episode to give my review of Resident Evil. I'm going to do one where I like read it to everybody and then break it out later, which I'm excited to because I finished Resident Evil. Nice. Really had a great time with that. Excited to talk about Project. Oh, yes. Captain Logun in the front.
Yes. First time, long time. Did you play this on PC or was this on Xbox?
I played this on Xbox. Xbox Series X. So
I've been seeing a lot of amazing stuff through the power of PC on social media with mods.
I see where you're going with this.
I was just curious. I just wanted to know what kind of mods you might have installed. Okay. No, never mind. That's fine.
Still no. Nope. But we often start our show with words of kindness, and I have a plethora of people that made my gaming week better. But I do want to give a shout out to Glyphere and his kid. Glyphere messaged me on Xbox Live /network/ whatever we're calling that, and just said that he appreciated the show, asked a question about the show, about Yakuza. I don't think either you nor I have information on Yakuza, but me neither. But Glyphere was great, and just reaching out, saying hello, and saying that he and his kiddo listen regularly every week. So shout out to them, and thanks for making my gaming week better, guys.
Nice. That's awesome. I will toss out my kudos. It's always tough because there's always a bunch of people, but last night I got to jump into the Division 1 Ubisoft with the Nerd Chat boys at like
Nice.
an ungodly hour in the evening for East Coast. For them, it was all like, oh yeah, it's like 9:30, and I'm like, that's cool. That's cool. That's also 2 hours behind me, but you know, that's fine. That's fine. We'll jump in there. Dude, Division 1, a fantastic game. Like, absolutely holds up. And they're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of it, so it's like there's tons of like cheap discounts on it right now. And holy shnikes, man. That game is just, it's like my third time jumping into it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't finished it, but it's one of those ones that's like, I just love the atmosphere. It's just such a good game. Even if it's a little bullet spongy, it's a good game.
The time is now. If my friend group say, "Can we do Division 2?" I'd say yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? I don't know why, but the time is now. So if they were 1 and 2, I would do it.
Yeah. Dude, Division 2, like, even though Washington wasn't my favorite like place, like Christmas time, New York City, snow, tumultuous life, like that's such a good setting. It's like a Godzilla movie, you know. It's like it happens in New York. That's where it's a good place to be. Yeah. So Washington, cool, but the stuff that they did with Division 2, I actually liked a lot better. Like with the little drone that you get and stuff. It's just one of those, like, I preferred the Christmas New York, desolate New York City kind of setting.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah. I want to give before we dive into Project Helix, I want to give a shout out to the many people that are already watching us. Thank you guys so much. Please hit the like button. I see Nissa. I see the Nerd Chat in here. Our buddy Silkenit is here. I listened to or saw Silkenit in the chat last night for spreading the nerd. X-Baking Gaming in the house, was listening to him this morning. Our boy Freight Conductor as well, spreading the nerd. Ray Oid is here. We have a great question from Shri Lestari. I'm going to answer that in just a second. And Big Boss is here. Good to see you guys. Hope you're all doing well and having a good day. Happy morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are listening, if you're listening live or on VOD. Let's see here. Sri Lester started off with a question for me. Would you do an interview with Asha Sharma? Absolutely. That is a known yes for me. It's a long time been a goal to have Xbox executives here on the show. That is something I've always wanted to do. I think I would handle that professionally and jovially as well. I also recognize that's a weighted question, right? Whenever you have on someone of that caliber, there are things you can and can't ask. There's a give and a take in those things. And I recognize that on our best day, we are enthusiast press. And on our most casual days, we are enthusiasts who enjoy talking about video games. So I recognize those things in there, but I'm enjoying the possibility. I did get a very wonderful message from a former Xbox exec last night. And I've been talking about having other previous execs on as well. And so, like, that's a thing I enjoy doing. So yeah, great question. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Logan, my friend, big news this week, as the aforementioned Asha Sharma was kind enough to put out onto her socials information about the new Project Helix, which I have a little blurb that I'm going to read about, and then we're going to really dive in and kind of get our takes on this one. You strap in. You ready to roll here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty here. So Asha Sharma recently went out and put onto her socials that the Xbox brand had another meeting. She was meeting with Xbox that morning, and Microsoft, in and of itself, I'm going to start over. I don't like the way I started that one. Asha Sharma put out over onto X that she and the Xbox team had a great meeting that morning, and they are happy to announce Project Helix is coming. That is the company's next console-like device, which is going to bridge the generational gap between console and PC, which I think is something we've seen Xbox going in the direction of. Project Helix will lead in performance and play your Xbox and PC games, says Sharma. To me, I find this very fascinating. I'm interested to see what happens. I also think it's interesting that she was willing to say that at all a week ahead of GDC, where we're going to hear from Jason Ronald about the future of Xbox. We understand currently that Xbox and all other technological brands are struggling with component shortages, component pricing. And so what this device is, what it means for the future of Xbox as a brand remains to be seen. Previously, Sarah Bond was talking about it being a very premium device. I'm interested to see what Xbox does going forward with this one. Project Helix, I think it's a really fascinating name. I think the logo is wonderful in and of itself, if indeed they're talking about the DNA of what makes Xbox Xbox, talking about the return of Xbox. But again, this is all very speculative on our part. They've not actually said anything of substance beyond us kind of grasping at what it might be. Logan, you see this device code name, you see her willing to put this information out there several weeks removed from the return of Xbox and us questioning that. What was your take?
I think this was a good way to try and kick things off as her as the new CEO. Clearly, this was something that was planned. They knew that they were going to be doing this. And instead of, questioning like what the future of like Xbox's leadership is going to look like in the public space, they're just coming right out and saying, hey, this is Asha. She's going to be the new CEO. She's got news on the next generation of Xbox, and it's going to be presented at GDC. So we don't have to question, what is it going to look like with the Xbox showcase in June? We don't have to worry about that. We know that she's already getting into the position where she's going to be a public speaker on these kind of things and try and like head the Xbox train down the path of like, this is where our future is going. I really like the idea of Project Helix. I hope that Helix is kind of like what it intends, which is a full combination of like the PC side and the Xbox console side joining together to form the DNA of Xbox in general. So I was really surprised to see this, but I hope that with them talking about the integration of Windows functionality with PC capabilities, it's clear that what they're looking to do is mold the future of like what consoles are into a world that feels more like a PC, but with a big screen mode from like Steam or like current Game Pass feel of like if you're streaming games on Game Pass, that kind of sense of like you can access anything and it's going to be through an easy kind of selectable way through like a controller. It's just going to operate on the back end a lot more like how PCs typically do. So I'd be very curious to kind of see, especially given some of the news that we got with the 2025 wrap up for Steam and some of the information that they've brought in as far as like they're trying to add better tools and better functionality to their handhelds as well as their consoles, if their consoles make it to 2026. So very, very curious to kind of see like how this is actually going to work out, because from my perspective, I'm still living on PC, and PC is great because I have access to every ecosystem. I've got all my Steam games. I've got all my Epic games. I've got my Ubisoft games. I've got my Battle.net games. I've got my Xbox games. They're all accessible through one system. Whereas my Xbox is just purely my Xbox library right now. So if they're able to try and find a way to give me the functionality of getting access to really great console games through my next Xbox console in a way that connects up to store ecosystems that are only on PC right now, that would be fantastic.
I think so too. And it's funny because I don't feel like we got new information apart from the name. Right. We didn't get any new information. We knew this was the direction of Xbox. The Xbox ROG Ally X showed us this. And yet just seeing Project Helix, seeing the new boss in charge, kind of reaffirm that Xbox will play Xbox games and PC games in a console form factor. That made me more excited for it. Perhaps juxtaposed to the PlayStation news, what we'll get to. But I really did get excited. And I didn't expect to, right? We've been really on a tumultuous ride as Xbox gamers in the last 5 years. New consoles. The consoles were great. Series S and X generally great consoles. New Halo, really good campaign, right? Then you see Master Chief Collection get all this good stuff, but then Xbox has no games for 2 years, and then they've got a slew of games finally, but they're everywhere. What does that mean? We got a handheld, but is it really a handheld or is it Windows? There's so many. Game Pass kicking up in price 3 different times. It's been really difficult to be an Xbox enthusiast, I think, and you and I have kind of fallen by the wayside of we're gamers now. We don't even describe, I think, and even our show is going through a name change very soon. Logo's looking good, by the way, to any listener who's interested. Logo's looking good. It's going to be a nice soft transition into expansion pass, and I'm looking forward to that. But it's just been an interesting ride, a very strange ride, and I'm excited to see that this new boss is saying these things. I don't necessarily know what it means. I don't know if I care. I don't know that it actually matters, right? Big Boss in chat saying Xbox Helix would be a cool name. I kind of agree, but I also thought Scorpio was a dope name, and they didn't do that. And I don't mind, code names are what they are. I have no confidence in Xbox naming conventions whatsoever. So what do you got?
I am curious though, with this kind of being like they're kind of wanting to talk more about Helix. It does make me question whether or not we're going to see 2 SKUs for Xbox this generation. Is that something that I personally really appreciated the fact that the Xbox Series S was a thing. I think in a different timeline, the Xbox Series S would have been heralded as one of the greatest entry points into next generation, and that the sales on that would have continued. We would have seen really, 5 years in, we would have seen some awesome bundles with Game Pass Ultimate, as well as the Xbox Series S for $250 on Black Friday. We would have seen the continuation of that being supported. And I think that unfortunately, a lot of stuff has happened that has not gone the way for the game industry in general. There's been a huge shift in what's considered profitable versus not profitable. So I look at Project Helix and I kind of wonder, are we actually going to have multiple consoles this time? Or are they going to do the thing that I think would probably serve them better and just focus on one SKU, one set of hardware, and have the differentiator be the disk drive or the hard drive size, and let that kind of be the dictators on the variants and SKUs, especially if they're just going to be focusing on something that is going to be a hybrid between PC and console games and bringing those two together. I think you really have to kind of narrow in your focus and say, hey, we can't afford to have that kind of experience on a lower end system and a higher end system. We need to focus on one system, just have really good components for that one system to be able to offer that kind of an experience.
I think, and you bring up several very good points, particularly about the Series S. I think that system was underappreciated, but also underutilized and undermarketed. And it all comes back to why does anybody buy a console? They buy a console for the games.
Yeah.
And that's why you see some of these companies saying, should we go other places? Should we keep a closed ecosystem? And so the Series S, I think, would have done far better had Xbox's slew of content now not been interrupted by poor management, by the pandemic, and in general just had better products to offer in its time, because the Series S is genuinely I think a marvel of engineering. I think its form factor is great. It's the fact that it does what it does is really cool. But now it's been priced out because of component ideas. So, or I say pricing models. Yeah. So as far as do we see Project Helix in 2 SKUs? I would imagine they don't even know right now because of those very same component shortages. For Valve to be yeah, maybe not this year, but oh wait, no, this year, don't panic. Maybe that in and of itself is suggestive that they don't know what they can and can't get. Yes, they have deals for wafers and AMD's talking, but they still don't know what they can and can't get and what these pricing models will be. Forgive me for the bluntness here, but which countries will be at war, where they can get different things, because all of that stuff matters to consumers. So I don't know if they do 2 SKUs. I don't think they would do 2 hardware functional designs, but I do think, much like the Steam Deck or some of our handhelds, do they have the equivalent of the OLED model and the LCD model, or this one's got the 2 terabytes, this one's got 1 terabyte. So I think you definitively see that, because that's a way for them to eke out a few extra dollars for a quick modular swap. But honestly, right now, it's too early to speculate beyond just, chatting on a show for content and interest. I don't think it truly matters, because I believe we're going to see this in 2027.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. It would be nice if they just kind of did what they did with the Xbox Series 1, where they kind of go the more traditional route of like, hey, we've got the entry level. We've got plans to get like beefier versions out in the future. But that kind of brings me up to one of the other questions that I have about this Helix thing is if this is going to be an Xbox console that can play PC games, because it's going to effectively be a PC. We've seen a lot of refocus from Sony on their PlayStation 5 Pro, especially with the PSSR technology, and having that upscaling, having that frame generation, the AI doing its thing to try and make games look and feel better without sacrificing performance. Do you think that that's something that they will talk about on this upcoming GDC? Do you think they're actually going to kind of say like, hey, we've got our own version of DLSS or PSSR?
Man, that's a weighted question. It's one of those like, we'll find out in a week. Like, yeah. Do I think we see? I don't think we see that just yet. However, they've been trying to push this Jason Ronald talking about the future of Xbox for some time, right?
They're always ahead.
Yeah. And so I look at the Xbox hardware ever since the Xbox One S, and the hardware has been fantastic, truly fantastic. They had a memory cost problem with those, the SSD like memory cards.
Yeah.
They were fantastic, but too expensive. The controllers have aged themselves out of being productive, right? They're just not good controllers compared to what's on the market now. But at the time, they were quite good. But beyond that, everything else has been great hardware wise.
Yeah.
And so I do think there's a good chance you see an equivalent of that. I do think there's an idea they sell you on what their new vision is. The question becomes now, Sharma's going to be there. How much voice does she get in this? How much voice do they give Jason Ronald or his team members? Do they give you a known face or not? We have fully expected SGF Sharma's front and center. Does she take front and center at a place like GDC in order to help the brand kind of unify around her vision or what she will represent as the vision of Xbox? Or do you see the tech heads do the talking?
I think in this case, given the nature of GDC and what the point of it is, I think you let Jason do his thing. Let his team talk on and speak on it. And if Sharma's like going to be the CEO, the whole point of being a good leader is to have the right people in the right places and let them do their job. Let Jason Ronald come out and talk about this. He's been very, very excited about it since at least when I got to talk to him at GDC, or not GDC, SGF last year. And this is just one of those things, like, it's been in the cooker for a long time. They're finally able to kind of talk on it. It's interesting that they're doing this at GDC, because I think when you look at like the Xbox Series S, you look at 5 years ago, this was a Game Awards thing. And I wonder if they're looking to do GDC because it's a little more tech oriented and a little less consumer oriented. And maybe the cachet with Jeff is just not as strong as it used to be.
I think Jeff Keighley should stay away from everything, and they should stay away from him. I truly think that is a tainted well in and of itself, as evidenced by Highguard most recently closing in his complete tone deafness when it came to that, which, it's like you shouldn't speculate kind of thing, but then you find out Tencent helped fund Highguard, which to me does not impact the quality of the game, nor should it impact the reception of the game. But when you see how they kind of just fell into that last slot, it does kind of break any confidence you have in those awards. But I don't know. It's just one of those kind of like, I don't think Xbox should bother partnering there. I don't think it truly benefits them right now. They should be entirely trying to control their own narrative, because what they're going to have is a niche machine that they need to sell in mind share more than they do units.
Yeah.
right? The console market does not get bigger. How are you going to sell people on purchasing into something that also sells PC games? What's your give? Because you've had the best deal in gaming with Game Pass, and that wasn't good enough. You finally got games, but you're putting them everywhere. Okay. And your hardware was great. So it wasn't a hardware issue. So I genuinely wonder, like, all right, what's your play? What's your move? I don't think they need to have anybody else speaking on that firsthand except for them. That's my thought process.
There is an interesting thing going on right now with American companies, and you may have seen some of this like going around on like social media. But have you seen this like where the burger companies, the fast food, are like their CEOs are coming out to test their product and stuff? There is absolutely something that is going on around American companies for whatever reasons. They're trying to build internal influencers. They're trying and see if they can position people in the C-suite to be spokespeople or marketing as influencers for their product. And we've seen this kind of kick up with the burger joints. It's going to expand. It's already expanding. And it would not surprise me if companies like Microsoft look to try and prop up Asha as one of those people, as like one of those internal influencers. Because we've already seen Apple do it. Tim Cook is out there every single time talking about Apple products every single time. Same thing with Google, same thing with Microsoft. Like, companies want to have their C-suites be the influencers and sell the product. We don't have an E3 anymore. We don't have companies looking to buy copies of games based on demos that are shown behind closed doors. It's all about market share and public image with a lot of these companies. So I wouldn't be surprised if Asha starts to be in more of that public role. She's already trying to kind of bring together like a lot of the Xbox influencers out there, a lot of the public, content creators and stuff. She's already trying to position herself in that position of like, oh, I'm here just like Phil was for you kind of thing. So I would not be surprised if we start to see the more friendlier kind of influencer side of Asha in the next year, like over the course of the next year.
I think you're right. I think that's exactly what we see. I think they chose her for a number of reasons, not to ignore her impressive resume or her insanely high like level of intellect and credentials. Because I mean, shoot, she's been on a number of companies that are very successful, a number of very high level C-suite stuff at a very young age. Right. She's 36 or 7 at this point. She's under 40 and yet still hitting these she's a board member of multiple places. She's been a executive vice president, and now she's at the head of Microsoft Gaming. These are not successes to be trifled at. Similarly, she looks great on camera. She smiles. She's saying the right things. There's PR training, and that is the level of expectation now if you're going to go out to a consumer facing role. To go back to your point of kind of the memed element of these burger CEOs trying their product. That McDonald's CEO didn't know how to eat a burger, right? But that Burger King guy went in for it, right? And then it's been memed over since then. And I've actually enjoyed kind of the little spots here and there. Well, in the gaming space, I distinctly remember Jim Ryan picking up a controller backwards, right? I remember Phil having what did they used to call them? Xbox, not Xbox Directs. Oh, the inside Xboxes where they would, it was all live and everything. And he sat and he played Destiny First Light, I think it was. And that man knew what he was doing, right? Like, is that the direction? I just think it's fascinating to say, you do need these CEOs to be younger, more relatable, be good on camera. And is that going to work? I don't know. McDonald's is not hurting because their CEO cannot eat a burger, right? Like they are just fine. Ain't nobody know about that except people that are scrolling socials, and that is not stopping them from ordering DoorDash from McDonald's again. So is it helping Wendy's and Burger King?
I mean, it's definitely gonna like I'll be perfectly honest. When I was watching the Burger King dude eat that Whopper, I was like, I kind of want a Whopper. I hate that works.
But do you think they saw an uptick?
And I mean, I could probably find out from at least one of the companies if that actually did anything. But I would have to reach out to someone to actually find out about that. But it's definitely going to be a thing, and it's definitely going to happen, and it's going to definitely going to actually like spread across the different companies, especially any food product companies out there. I guarantee you're going to see like CEOs for like Folgers coffee or something, or Starbucks coffee, going out there and making their own coffee latte and stuff, and drinking and being like, oh, that's the best. It's like,
yeah,
why hire actors when you can just put the CEO shills in front of the camera with a microphone?
I do think it'll be fascinating to see whether or not whatever Xbox does, how much into the meme wars they try to play or don't. Because we saw a very relatable Xbox on socials for years. We saw the Xbox toaster, the Xbox fridge, right? And like, those were fun. Those were fun things, but it didn't help. And so like, okay, they tried that route. What's the next play? And again, it's something to watch. And it's a stark difference from something like PlayStation, who I think is their most visible competitor, even if it's not the most realistic competitor that they exist next to.
Yeah. If I'm being real honest, I actually liked when the consoles were a lot more combative with each other. And I like that the games are going across the fence so that you can actually like play with other people who are just on their ecosystem and you're on your ecosystem. I appreciate that aspect of the game. But I definitely like when companies are fighting for my dollar. And I think that is something that has kind of gone by the wayside. We've seen that with the price hikes from $60 to $70. We've seen that from Nintendo pushing the $80 and then watching Microsoft and Sony try and see if they can test the waters and see if their consumers will actually go for that. And funny enough, we're seeing it the complete opposite, that not only are people rejecting the $70 games nowadays, but even the $40 games aren't necessarily going that way. So whatever Xbox has in store for the Project Helix, I hope that whatever they do, they go for the throat when it comes to PlayStation's console and say, this is why you should own an Xbox. This is why you should invest in an Xbox, because we're going to be able to offer you things that you can't get and some things that you can only get on a PlayStation console.
Mm-hmm. The Xbox 360 was my console of choice for a long time. Halo, Gears, incredible third-party exclusives for a little while, and then just in general, great network play. I loved the Xbox 360, but when I saw the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, I saw a company in PlayStation that was trying to fight for my dollar more in the PlayStation 4. Hubris. And I said, that's where I'm going. Yeah. And once Xbox was like kind of this tool around, yep, now we're going to have backward compatibility. Now games with gold. Halo 5 is on its way. Okay. I'm thinking, hey, Master Chief Collection. Oh, okay. And you're like, now I'm in on the Xbox One S. And then from there, the series or the Xbox One X is on the way, and Game Pass. And it's like, you're fighting for my dollar. I'm with you now. And that is where I tend to go. I go where my my dollar travels most. That is where I go as a consumer. And then you and I fell into this world of, we love a lot of games that Xbox makes. We enjoy covering the brand. Let's talk about it on a weekly basis. But we play games everywhere. And now you're full PC. I play games. I've played games everywhere. I did recently sell my PlayStation in anticipation of a Steam machine. Whether or not that's the right call remains to be seen, right? And we can get into that in just if you'd like to now. But I do appreciate when companies fight for my dollar.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I would much rather see a company try and eat the cost on their own profit for the sake of trying to get me the best deal that they can, because they're $1 million companies, they're $1 billion companies. I don't care how their profits go, because their profits are always going to go up. That's their point. That's their goal. I think that there's been some mandates on Xbox's side that most definitely do not help the games that they are trying to produce. If there wasn't this 30% margin of profit mandated by the studios, then I think that we would have been able to see other studios like continue projects, be able to continue. Like Perfect Dark may not have gotten like smited, Everwild may not have gotten smited, although I still think that Everwild should have gotten smited because that game had nothing to it. So, but at least we saw like a demo of Perfect Dark, and it looked like they were trying to do something unique with the first person shooter aspect of it. But looking at what Xbox has to prove, they have to prove why they still belong in the console space, especially if they're going to have all of their games accessible everywhere over time. There's very few things. Like we've got South of Midnight a year after launch going to Nintendo Switch 2 and PlayStation 5. And that's you got a year's exclusivity for that game, and I love my time with it. But if I'd waited a year, there was no reason for me not to just wait and pick it up on my Switch 2 or PS5. So Xbox needs to figure out what it is that's going to sell me on having an Xbox under my TV in the next generation. And I think the PCX ecosystems are a way to do that, because as we've talked about, like they've already killed the idea of exclusivity, but that is something that Sony is now looking at, and PC's looking to try and get into the console space. It feels like everyone's just trying to grasp at straws at what to do and where to go.
Yeah. Certainly would be helpful if these companies would come out and clarify direction for consumers so they could make better choices. I don't think there's always incentive to do that. Not always. Sometimes there very much is, and that's a risk cachet that I'm not sure every company is ready to handle. And this is going to allow me to jump into reporting out of Jason Schreier from this past week, who is not your leaker. He's not somebody who is out there to leak for clout. His brand is digging deep into the game industry and reporting on it. And he came out with Bloomberg and said that Sony no longer plans to release PlayStation games on PC, returning to the exclusivity after 6 years of flirting with multi-platform. There's a faction within Sony that believes PC releases can hurt the PlayStation brand and impact console sales. That quote, and those quotes, I should say, coming out of Schreier is very fascinating to look at, especially next to the idea that Xbox says Project Helix is going to play your PC games, which meant that it could play all of these older PlayStation titles. It means that on the next generation, I can play Spider-Man on my Xbox. Whether or not I can play Wolverine remains to be seen, because Sony has not come out to clarify whether or not this reporting out of Schreier is true. It is not a thing that Schreier comes out and says something lightly without vetting sources. That's just not his brand. That's not what a multi-book seller does at this point. That's not his shtick. There are very few games journalists left. He is one of them. So for him to come out and be confident to report on this means that on some level, this is likely happening. And Sony did not take to any socials or make any statements about whether or not it was true or not true, which to me is fascinating in and of itself. As far as whether or not they do choose to step back from PC launches, I find that to be, from outside looking in, not having data in front of me, a mistake. They never fully embraced launching onto PC. They always did time delays. The one day and date that they did was from a second party approach with Helldivers 2, but it made them money hand over fist, which is fascinating to watch as well. I can't imagine a world where Xbox in their next generation says, you know what, console exclusivity definitively is what we're doing. I do see a world where Xbox says, hey, we're going to rein back putting stuff onto PlayStation. I see a world where they try to, that's an incentive to sell boxes. Not because I'm endorsing that, don't misunderstand, but Logan, I do think these companies are trying to figure it out, trying to figure out where and how to make money, and a return to traditional is something I could see them exploring.
It's so interesting to think about, like, why these companies are doing this and money left on the table, right? Because in my mind, it's like, how do you sell your console? Well, the only reason I would buy the console is to play stuff that I can't play anywhere else. That's why I have a Nintendo Switch 2. It's because Pokemon Pokepedia or whatever it's called, that game is wild, but it's selling well. It's highly rated, and a lot of people are enjoying it because it's basically Animal Crossing but Pokemon. And I can't play that anywhere else. I can't even play that on the original Switch. Like it's only a Switch 2 game, and it has game share, so you can play it with other people who have a Switch 1. But that's an exclusive, man, and that's going to sell consoles in the long run. Maybe not necessarily like right out the gate, but you throw enough exclusives on that Switch 2, eventually people are going to be like, okay, well, I can't play Metroid, or I can't play Donkey Kong Bonanza. I can't play Mario Kart World. I can't play Pokemon Pokepedia or whatever it's called. I have it written down. Pokopia.
Silken said it in chat. He says delivers a Pokopia. Delivers so far. A couple hours in, the loop feels good.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Animal Crossing team. I'm pretty sure like everything looks like it's from the Animal Crossing team. But I mean, to the point, that is one of those things that you can only play on Switch 2. And it's just going to keep going that route. So eventually the Switch 1 people are going to be like, well, I have all my Switch 1 games. I want to play these new games, but I can't play them until I jump over to my Switch 2. So it's interesting to me because I look at Xbox and I'm like, okay, well, Xbox is putting all their games on PC, and not just like Xbox PC, like on Steam as well too. So if it's a return to Xbox, I would actually see Xbox starting to pull away from putting their stuff on Steam as well, because Steam is now looking to enter into the console market with the Steam machine. And it's like, well, why would I buy an Xbox console if Steam is going to get the same games that Xbox has on Steam, but also the Steam games that are available there as well too? It's like I have to try and decide where do I want my digital libraries to be at, and that always kind of goes back to that Xbox One generation that Phil talks about all the time, or not all the time, but at this point with Sony pulling away from Steam and their PC delivery of single player games, to be specific, single player is getting pulled back on, according to Schreier. Multiplayer will still be there, which seems like a smart move. You have a lot broader of an audience. Chances are if the multiplayer works on PC, then it's not like a lost thing. But if you're trying to reinforce your brand is single player action adventure third person games. Like if that's what you're selling people who are looking for something outside of the NBAs or the NFLs or the Grand Theft Autos or the Fortnites or the Apex Legends or the Minecrafts, stuff that they have already, then you want to like reward that fan base because their console sales are still doing well. Mm-hmm. They're still doing extremely well as far as console sales. So giving them a reason to say like, hey, this is why you invested in the console. We wanted you to invest in the console. This is why we're going to reward you for investing in that. You're going to be able to get to play these games, and only you are going to be able to play these games. And it just builds that brand loyalty. You're only going to be able to play the next Naughty Dog game on a PS5 console or a PS6 console. And that seems to be the way that Sony wants to go. And do I think that that's how they should go if they want money? No, but that's definitely going to sell consoles to a point.
Right. There's a level of like protect your brand, lose a few dollars. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm not an economist on that one. And I do want to say we've got over 40 people watching live. Please hit that like button. It really does help us out, and consider being a channel member. It would mean a lot. We have a lot of people in chat popping off here, Logan. I do want to highlight a few of these comments because I find them fascinating. Seawolf Swim was commenting essentially that, and I'll bring up one of them, saying that Ratchet didn't sell, Uncharted Collection didn't sell, also referenced Spider-Man 2 not selling. I find that interesting because, I mean, those weren't day and date launches. So is that a good indicator versus like seeing Xbox launch onto PlayStation? I'm sorry, Xbox launch on the Steam rather and PC. I don't think that's an apples to apples argument, but your point is well taken. Saintster 1966 says everything has exclusives, even streaming TV like Netflix, Amazon Prime. Why sacrifice your brand to competitors? Half agree with that, because I certainly see those exclusive shows eventually go up for video on demand on competing platforms. Like you watch Welcome to Derry on HBO Max, yes, or HBO or what Max, whatever they're calling it right now. But you see that, and then 2 months later, it's available on Vudu, and you can purchase on Amazon. And so, questions there.
Can I push back a little bit on the streaming, like Netflix and Apple TV and stuff like that? I think there's a difference when you're subscribing to a monthly service that you can just install an app on your Roku or Google device or TV, compared to investing in like a $500 to $800 console.
A very good comparison point that I think kind of lends itself to our conversation about, Steam Machine says it's going to be out this year. That's going to compete in a console space, and that it's a form factor under your TV. Do you buy that one with no online Game Pass core requirement to play multiplayer or whatnot? Do you buy that? And does that compete? You make a good point. I think that is a good comparison, though I don't think we can ignore the streaming comparison either, Logan.
You are fully admit, like, exclusives have a purpose for those streaming services. I will absolutely subscribe to X service for X amount of time, just so I can binge that show and be done with it. I think a lot of people maybe even do that with Game Pass, where they'll pop into Game Pass, play a couple games, get caught up, and then be done with it.
Fair. Chat really popping off here. I do want to shout out Freight Conductor for hanging out with us, saying I would be willing to put money that PlayStation gets back to PC ports a couple years into the PS6 generation. I'm in full agreement. Again, I will say, without not as an endorsement, but I do think you see console exclusives be a thing again. I think Xbox still goes to PC, but I don't think you see them pushing their stuff into PlayStation and Nintendo Switch 2 territory for a limited amount of time. I think PlayStation also stays on its box for a little while, just to solidify what it means to be a PlayStation or an Xbox. And then they find once again that it's just not a market that you ultimately see growing. Think about how many times we've seen the console market peaks at 250 million consoles sold. Doesn't matter which ones. That's about the size of it before people are diving into PC. You also have to look at the continued rise of quality portable devices. It'll be slowed down by these shortages, component shortages, RAM currently. Prior to that, it was memory. Like you do get slowed down by the physical technology aspects of this, but it does kind of beg the question of what you should do in a console space. Where should you put your stuff? I'm really excited that Campaign Evolved's coming out. Seriously, I'm just really excited for it. I thought it was, honestly, you'd asked me a year ago, I thought it was this month. I don't care that PlayStation's playing it. I don't care. Rock on. Cool. Same with Gears of War E-Day. Would there be a different type of excitement if it was just on Xbox? I don't think for Halo, but I do think for Gears. Look at Forza Horizon, which is going to be kind of a full-on indicator here. That game's going to do gangbusters. That game's going to do gangbusters everywhere it's available. Dollars to donuts. That's getting $5 million on Xbox, $5 million on PlayStation, $5+ million on PC quickly, right? You're going to see that, X amount of players have joined us, and that will be interesting to watch. C-Fresh in chat pointing out some of the other titles I could mention: Doom Dark Ages, Avowed, Outer Worlds, Hellblade 2. They've done a lot of this, putting their content other places. Some of it predisposed to be other places, Diablo, Doom, right? Others taking that timed exclusivity window like Avowed, Hellblade 2. So I don't know what it means for Sony to step away from PC, for Xbox's Helix to be Xbox and PC, because PC is such a wide breadth. But I do know that Sony just put out Marathon, and the numbers are not super encouraging, nor are they damning. You can't look at it and say flop like Highguard, right? Because I think it has 50,000+ concurrents on Steam currently. You also can't say smashing success, because Helldivers 2 started slow as well. For context, just to be clear, Marathon, of course, made by Bungie. Sony acquired Bungie in 2022. That means they inherited all of the Destiny stuff. Marathon's coming out in the wake of Bungie laying off and restructuring roughly 17% of its staff. This is one of Sony's multiplayer launches. Do they keep doing multiplayer on everywhere? Do they? Are people playing Marathon on Xbox?
I think they will.
I think it makes sense to, but I don't understand some of the logic I'm seeing from these companies. So I don't want to like die on a hill about it for any of them, mind you. Like Valve should be doing the Steam controller first, not doing all three devices at the same time, just because of component. But I go back to Bungie was a $3.6 billion buy. Marathon needs to be a hit. Destiny's not doing what it should do or they want it to do for them. Fine. I really wonder where Marathon's legs are. I think a ton of people love it. I think a ton of people don't. You're seeing all this scuttlebutt, people popping in and like, it's not Arc Raiders, it's not Fortnite. I don't think it's meant to be. It's also not Tarkov. For me, I bounced off real quick, Logan, because of the UI. Just didn't, the aesthetic and the UI just said, no, thank you. Not in for it right now. So I wonder how to follow Marathon and what that says to Sony about putting their content in more places.
Yeah. It's especially interesting given that companies like Squaresoft or Square Enix and Capcom have said more and more that they're not as interested in taking that money bag from Sony for that timed exclusivity that they were in the past. It shows that they are recognizing that PC seems to be a much more fruitful market if they work towards that. Capcom is specifically coming out and saying like they learned a lot from Monster Hunters or Monster Hunter Wilds and their optimizations, and are looking to see if they can try and build out their PC refinement a lot more, because there's such a drive for their games over on PC, not just on consoles. It really does make me wonder, is Sony getting insular? Are they just like trying to maintain their kind of brand identity in a time when they really are struggling to have anything that revolves around any of the main IPs from any of the big studios that they have? Wolverine is it. Who knows when the next actual God of War game, not this Sons of Sparta stuff that came out of 2011. When are we getting like the next God of War game? When is the next actual Horizon game coming out? When are we going to actually see what Naughty Dog's working on? Like Wolverine is it. And to be perfectly honest, if I was Sony and I was still selling consoles, I would probably be like, yeah, let's just reinforce the thing that makes us the most money, because we still make 30% on anything that gets sold through our store. And we only get 30% of our first party titles from putting them on other ecosystems, which is Steam right now, which if those sales aren't doing great, how much is the cost investment versus the return on investment? Like, are those lining up? To me, it says if Schreier says that single player isn't doing well over on Steam enough for Sony to consider keeping those first party titles, like that single player experience over on PC, they're going to pull out. They're going to be like, you know what? It's not cost efficient. It's not earning us the money that we wanted to, and we'd rather put those investments back into the console.
I maintain, I think that's a mistake. I think Sony's PC strategy has been flawed in the way that they have knock on day and date, not talked about it, not pushed it.
Do we really think that PC players care when games on consoles come out?
I think there is a level of excitement that happens in the gaming space, right? In the conversational space. That is not to say that like, I don't think there's like we're mad, we're not going to buy this. I think that's what Bacon might say, right? Like from the nerd chat. I think that's what, like a very small percentage of people. Those are the people that are like, I'm boycotting COD. Buys COD. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the actual PC market cares, but I do think there is a zeitgeist level interest. Helldivers 2 had a zeitgeist of interest, right? High guard did not. A bunch of people jumped in and it fell off quick. Right. There is a way to jump in. Slay the Spire 2 just came out. Everyone in that space is buying
it. Everyone's talking about that.
But so I do give and take, right?
See, I don't know if I would say that the reason Helldivers took off was because it came out on PlayStation, though. I think it was because it came out on Steam and because streamers got into it and really started making funny videos about it. I think that's where that zeitgeist lived. And I don't think that the fact that it came day and date with Sony's release had anything to do with it. I think if that game had come out like 2 weeks later or a month later, it still would have had that, because that's where a lot of streamers play, is on PC.
I think had Spider-Man 2, mind you, all of this predicated on the idea that the ports are solid, that they're optimized well. Capcom reporting that 50% of their sales for Requiem are on PC. Well, that also is running fantastic on PC. The game runs fantastic on Switch 2 as well. We're talking about optimization there. But like, if Spider-Man 2 had launched across all of its platforms, because PlayStation and PC, yes, is really all I'm saying, had launched well at the same time, market Spider-Man, and it's there, I think people get more interested than say, oh, and now the article is PlayStation 2 out now, or sorry, Spider-Man 2 out now on PC, on PlayStation, reviews are at 8.9, go purchase it here, versus Spider-Man 2 finally out on PC, right? And I just think that's the way news cycles work now. And maybe I'm wrong. That's my perception of what's happening or what happens. I will also say very comfortably, mind you, Spider-Man 2 statue right there, God of War 2 hammer right there, God of War statue. No, it's somewhere back there. This isn't a slight to PlayStation or anything, but I genuinely think the sequels for God of War and Spider-Man were less impactful than their first games. Playing Spider-Man 2 had a lot of really cool stuff, but I got a diluted story. I wanted a Peter story. I bought Miles. I loved Miles. I enjoy Miles as a character. I wanted to play as Peter, right? When I bought God of War Ragnarok, I didn't want to play as Boy and other character. I wanted to play as Kratos. And I think sometimes in the effort to go big or go home, you lose a scope thing. And I think those two games you kind of miss your mark there. So that plays a factor also. But I regardless, I wish Sony would come out and say, this is what we're doing. This is what we're not doing.
Interesting.
They came out with Wolverine in a blog post. Wolverine's date in a blog post. They shut down Blue Point within a week, right? Like they're not doing good at messaging right now.
Yeah, no. I think that Sony coming out and saying that they are going to be discontinuing PC ports of their single player games at a time right after they close Blue Point, probably not a good way to sell consoles. Probably not a good way to kind of like reaffirm that we're doing things for the gamer. They could market it that way. They could market it and say like, hey, we want to focus on new games. We want to focus on not just remakes and remasters. We don't want to focus on diverting resources to PC. We just want to focus on the console experience and put our money there so that you get the best games that you can get, and only on PlayStation. They could absolutely market it that way if they wanted to. But at the same time, if they don't say anything, then there's no articles being written up about it, which means there's nothing that the consumer is going to find out about it. You got one guy who's arguably like one of the better journalists out there writing up an article about what they've heard and what they think Sony is doing. But if nothing's confirmed, then consumers aren't going to see it on like Google News or Bing News.
Bing News. chuckle. I was doing a lesson the other day with students, by the way, Logan, teaching them how to prompt AI properly. Basically, like you should not pretend like something doesn't exist. You should teach them how to use a tool they're going to use, right? And I was like, all right, go to your AI engine of choice, Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever it is, right? And one kid picked Copilot, and I just looked at him. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go to the office. Like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
How dare you pick that AI
and all
machine?
6 people using Bing for Bing rewards are devastated because they nerfed that again.
Yeah.
No one cares, but I thought it was funny.
I mean, it's one of those things, like, I enjoyed getting the value out of the rewards. They're just making it a little bit harder now. I just have to wait a little bit longer for my gift cards.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's see here. I do just one last thing on Marathon, if you don't mind. I hope it goes well. I hope that game does succeed. A middle ground between something like Arc Raiders that has, I mean, I'm 250 hours in, so me complaining about Arc Raiders content's stupid. But kind of a middle ground between like casual Extraction and Tarkov Die Hard, I think has a place. I hope it does well, but I don't anticipate it doing well. I don't think it collapses like you had Concord died.
Yeah.
High Guard lasted 4 Concords worth?
Yeah, I think like 4.5.
Yeah, something like that. The game shutting down. I don't think Marathon shuts down, but I don't think it does what they desperately wish it would in kind of be just a mass hit. That said, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. I haven't played it since Server Slam. I didn't really get into it solo, and I'm a solo player a lot. So
yeah, I mean, if the visuals were different, I would probably be more interested in it. It's a lot more of a PvP game than people are anticipating. I think Arc Raiders is kind of like, and I think this is the difference between Marathon and Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders, you can communicate, you can chat, and like, people are willing to like hang out and like have a lore based cause to go against the robots. You know, robots took over the world. We're just trying to get scrap. That's the theme behind Arc Raiders. So you can rally behind that with people, and you can talk to people about that kind of thing. Like, why are you doing this? We're supposed to be on the same side, you know, kind of thing. Arc Raiders has that going for them in that zeitgeist aspect of it, and that content creation, the fun experiences, you know, like it kind of started where people were like extracting, and they're like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you? And the comeuppance come for the guy that you know, like the just desserts by the guy that betrayed the other guy, gets betrayed or gets knocked down. You know, those kind of moments you don't find in Marathon. Marathon is like, no, everyone's an enemy. If it moves and it's not on my team, it's going to get murdered, or I'm going to get murdered. So yeah, it's just a completely different mindset going into it. So I think there's a big shift in what people might have expected due to the success of an extraction shooter like Arc Raiders, that are getting like a rude awakening and be like, that's not the type of game that Marathon is. Marathon literally is a race to the finish on in this instance. And I think that a lot of folks are realizing that they can have a good time with Marathon. I just think that their aesthetics and their UI are very polarizing. So not to say that Marathon's a bad game. I think it's a good game. I think it's doing very well. It's in the top 5 sellers for Steam. Concurrency is probably going to go up as they do that, but people that get into it are going to get into it because, one, they're probably fans of Bungie, or 2, they're fans of shooters and they want something harder than Arc Raiders that feels a lot like Apex Legends. With that Bungie gunplay.
I just want to compliment us. I'd like to thank the Academy for us, because we didn't make one joke, Logan, about it being a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Not me. All right, guys. So I want to read my Resident Evil review, but before I do that, I do want to thank the people that have chosen to support XEP, be it over on YouTube with channel memberships, with super chats, or over at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We appreciate you. You guys are helping get us to SGF. You guys are supporting the channel in ways that help us to do, you know, things like podcast art, StreamYard, all the different podcast platforms to get content out for you. Thank you guys for your support. We appreciate you. And we routinely like to read our tier 2 and 3 members over on Patreon. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Big thank you to Jay Foley, TT Dog 666, Jesse Norris, Glyphere, Jimmy, Matto 1606, Matt Valdez, Clutch Quan Do, Omen, Jesse Prius, Fatto, Aaron G, Nick Bentley. Logan, our image went away. Please fix it. Nick Bentley, The Scarecrow, Ken Rosing, Fabian Winkler, Regis Stella, the Brony Pirate, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Nicholas Johnson, Randolph Thor 19, African, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Red Beast, Dano 12, DJ Hero, Brendan Myers, aka The Winter Gamer, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, and Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler. Thank you guys for your support. We greatly appreciate you. And yeah, there you go. It does a weird clicky thingy on my side, Logan. When I click the Patreon thing, it does this like bouncing effect, and I can't like dual screen without it. It's very confusing. I don't know how to describe that to listeners. It's just
live production, baby. We're doing it live.
Yep.
I hope you didn't say something that was going to get you canceled because it's live.
Indeed.
Also, mango salsa is amazing. So,
say that again.
No, it doesn't. We don't have to repeat that. It's fine. We can totally move past it.
All right. Speaking of live, I'm about to crack my knuckles and read this script I wrote last night for how much I love Resident Evil. Logan, give me the one. Just the one, like me. Like, put the camera on just me. There it is. Oh, that bar looks bad. Look at that. And go away. Ha! All right. Let's talk about Resident Evil 9 Requiem. So, after finishing Resident Evil 9 Requiem, my immediate reaction was that I wanted more of it. Once the credits rolled, I actually went back and then reinstalled older Resident Evil titles like Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake, as well as Resident Evil 4 Remake, just because I wanted to kill more zombies and experience more of the Easter egg like laden story. Requiem to me feels like one of those love letters to longtime fans of the series, and it's one of the rare games that, like, when you finish it, it doesn't quite feel like closure. It feels like you just want to play more of it. There is a strange thing they do with the endings, and it's important that you choose the ending that makes the most sense for you. I think one of the smartest things Requiem does is that it balances survival horror with action horror. And when you're playing as Grace, you really get a lot of tension and survival horror aspects. She's very vulnerable, pacing slows down a lot, and there is danger around like every corner. It's generally just a much darker playthrough. Like there's not a lot of light. Your flashlight becomes more important. And there were multiple moments where I got jump scared while playing as Grace because of just how exposed she is. At one point, a lamp made me jump out of my seat. That is a real thing that happened to me, and I thought that was hilarious and awesome. Similarly, when you're playing on, or I should say not similarly, when you're playing as Leon, it's very much the opposite experience. If Leon shows up, he holds his own in any fight. His gun is at the ready, and I was never scared playing as Leon, but I really enjoyed the combat. And there were times where you would go through an area as Leon that you'd either been through as Grace or the inverse of that, and you could just feel the difference in those two play styles. You get a choice of whether or not you play in first or third person for either character, but Capcom recommends that if you play as Grace, you play in first person, whereas if you play with Leon, you're in third person, and I did that on my first playthrough, and it felt very natural, and it really highlighted that, like, scary style as Grace versus the action style shooting as Leon. And it just, honestly, it was a love letter to longtime fans. Like Resident Evil 7 fans, you're playing as Grace and you're having a good time. Resident Evil 4 Remake, you're as Leon, you're having a good time there. I think this is also the strongest Capcom has come through with Resident Evil gameplay systems. The puzzles are more practical than they have ever felt, which to me is a very good thing. Sometimes those Resident Evil puzzles, while iconic, they feel just absolutely absurd. Like, why am I going into the garden to find this picture of this person? And that it doesn't make sense. Here they made more sense canonically, which made me feel more tied to, I guess you would say, like the environment and just the general immersion of Resident Evil. I did run into a few moments, though, especially in Raccoon City when I was playing as Leon, where I got lost. So, like, I wasn't sure where to go. And none of the in-game clues were especially clear to say, you know, Luke, go here and find this. After you explore one area, go check this area next. I had to use a guide at one point. And I was frustrated by that. I like when the game gives me kind of a natural, like, yes, you're rewarded for exploring, but you know where you're supposed to go. And it didn't do that at one point in Raccoon City. To me, Raccoon City, though, is the highlight of the game. If you loved Resident Evil 2 Remake, whether you're playing the original or the remake in general, you're going to see Raccoon City, but that remake really does have a love letter to fans there, and it's a lot that's going to make you smile. As a big Dead by Daylight fan, I actually had a blast exploring the RPD once more. So you go to Raccoon City Police Department, and I've experienced that map in Resident Evil 2 Original, in Resident Evil 2 Remake, and then in Dead by Daylight, and then to see it again in Resident Evil Requiem, I was just like, yes, this is really cool. And so I was just grinning ear to ear when revisiting that. I thought it was a smart move to put that in the trailers of the game ahead of time. I was really happy when I got to those spots, and it was just neat. The wider city overall, I thought looked fantastic. It did feel a little bit barren at points, and that sometimes comes with the RE engine. It doesn't do a ton of enemies on screen every time, all the time. In Resident Evil games, there was also the return of a classic boss, which I will not spoil for anyone, but I did feel he was underutilized. So take that for what you will. I thought it should have been more memorable of an encounter than it was. Overall, in terms of horror design, though, I think Requiem did not rely on the jump scares. It was more about like the slow tension. Think like Alien Isolation, if that's something that helps anybody's kind of, creative mind put together what I'm talking about. I think when it comes down to it, some of the enemies are a bit spongy at times, which is a Resident Evil thing. I really wish Resident Evil headshots popped more often and you just saw more enemies at once versus kind of spongier ones. But that's Resident Evil, right? Like, and you're gonna have a good time with it. And these games are built for multiple playthroughs where you level up. And technically speaking, Requiem is fantastic. It's outstanding. The RE engine is at its full absolute shine. This game feels like it was putting my Xbox Series X to the test, not to the limit though, because none of it broke. None of it. Not the sound, not the screen. There was no tearing. Zero performance issues from top to bottom. Characters looked fantastic. Environments were detailed. Sound design, immaculate. I had a blast. And I felt all of this having recently played Silent Hill 2 Remake and Silent Hill F, as well as Chronos New Dawn. And it really shows just how good Requiem is, that it stands above all these other games that are well made in the horror space. In the end, I think Requiem is among my top 3 Resident Evil game experiences, with 7 and RE4 Remake filling out my top 3 as well, sitting just above them, and just above Requiem, I should say. I think this game is a love letter to fans. I think if you're in survival horror mode of Resident Evil 7, you're happy with Grace. If you like action horror Resident Evil 4 and the 2 and 3 remakes, you're happy with Leon. And I think you're going to love Requiem. I recommend it to longtime fans. I recommend it to new players. Requiem is must play in my mind. Logan, welcome back. I return you. Hello, my friend. How'd I do? How'd I do in that reading?
That was good. That was really good. Although I grabbed the wrong. Oh, there we go. Yeah, no, I really liked it. Without spoilers, the fight scene with the cars was cool.
With the cars.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yes, that was cool.
Yeah. So I did like that. I thought that was really fun. I was impressed just from like a gameplay perspective of like how that was designed, because I fully anticipated it being something that was kind of like, oh, it's a one and done, and like, okay, that one's done, so like that you only have certain number. No, that fight could go for a very long time, and yeah, you just got to be careful about that. I really like the whole aspect of Leon being kind of like I've seen a lot of takes on there that a lot of people are taking to Leon very well on social medias. I've also seen a lot of Thomas the Train mods and Shrek mods in there. Yeah. The mods have been hilarious for this, because I think that's what I think a lot of people about PC fans enjoy. Mm-hmm. But overall, it looks like this has been a fantastic win for Capcom on the eve of Pragmata, which is literally about a week and about a month, 5 weeks from when they originally were planning on launching it, because they were planning on launching it later on like April 24th or 29th.
They moved it up a bit. So
that's actually, so looking at how good Resident Evil Requiem's doing and looking into their new IP with Pragmata, can't wait, because it looks like they're just firing on all cylinders. And I love that. I love when Capcom is doing well, because I think they're one of the few companies out there that absolutely knows how to not only just build a game and make a good game, but actually like deliver on their promises, you know, like have good DLC, have good pre-order bonuses, deliver the game on time, have the experience be good when delivered as well too. Not many companies out there putting out games day one that don't have massive day one patches, or have to get delayed, or have to run into issues with ports and not working well. It's one of those few things that I look at, like Capcom, I look at like Ubisoft, and I'm just like, these are companies that are still delivering on excellence. And especially in a time where dollars are stretching wherever you can, getting games like Resident Evil, it's so nice to be able to look at that and be like, that's a safe bet. You're good to buy that one day one and enjoy it. And if you don't, they have very good sales like 6 to 8 months later, or 6 to 9 months later. So it's like, man, if you can't get it now, not only is it going to be still good later on, but you'll probably get a deal on it. And chances are when they do a deal on it, they're probably going to do a deal on all the other ones too, because they always got sales going on.
And they're well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. We had a couple comments come in through Nerd Chat. Said, great review, Luke. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Let's see. I wanted to comment on Ray Oid said, this game is the game of the year. Is it on your game of the year leaderboard? Absolutely is. Absolutely is one of my game of the years. Like, I need to add it to our list actually, because we need to start tracking that, Logan. This is my first game of the year contender. Resident Evil Requiem. Yeah, that is absolutely on my game of the year list. I absolutely loved it. And to your point, Capcom's done an amazing job, an absolutely amazing job. And so I really, really appreciated that. Nissa Hauer asked if I would give a shout out to the YouTube members. We're looking at how to better quantify and appreciate your memberships, guys. And Nissa, thank you for supporting us. Sincerely, we appreciate you. Yeah. Seawolf says, some people are criticizing the length of the game. Resident Evil is always about multiple runs. I found that game did a great job with pacing. Truly fantastic job with pacing. The more I played with Leon and I started to get ready, it's a Grace section. Grace section started to run just slightly. Oh, I'm back with Leon. I didn't have any pacing issues or length of time issues. I think sometimes games overstay their welcome, and Resident Evil Requiem left me wanting more, but in a healthy way. And I was really, really happy with that. The game length did not bother me. I think my Xbox timer said I played 16 hours, whereas my in-game was like, I guess without deaths, it was like 10 hours. And I played on modern, not classic. On my second playthrough, I'm playing through on Insanity, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to finish this way.
Oh my God.
Classic's got like the save ribbons and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. I should say real quick that we did get a review copy for that. I meant to say that at the beginning. We got a review copy for it, and then I upgraded to deluxe because I wanted to support the dev. I loved it. I just absolutely love this game. So take that for what you will. Just full transparency. Ray Chi says Ubisoft gives great bang for your buck, and that's cool. I would agree with that one.
This was a comment. Machine XP says, interesting. Not sure if I've heard someone say Xbox or Ubisoft is delivering on excellence recently. I would say that they've had some flubs. They've definitely had some flubs, but they support their games better than any other developer out there, next to maybe like Blizzard, who does not shut down games that are launched, I should say. You can still play plenty of games that they've launched that are still available to this day.
Yeah. And as far as like Ubisoft, there's a lot of things you can say about Ubisoft as a company. No doubt about it. Like Steven Totila did a great game file this week, which I strongly recommend. Logan, I might have forwarded you that one just on a whim.
I don't think he did, actually.
I can if you need me to, buddy. But it was just, Ubisoft's a mess in so many ways.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, Assassin's Creed Shadows was one of my games of the year last year. I loved that game. They did announce, by the way, Assassin's Creed Black Flag resynced. It's a stupid name. It's
it's within the thing though. Like it makes sense. Like,
yes, and the Darksiders War Mastered Edition was cool.
Yeah.
No, yes, but
look,
no, right? Like
it's one of those like everyone's got their way of calling it a remaster or a remake. It's whatever, but it's one of those things that's like they're trying to live within the world and make it seem like it makes sense. Like you're getting resync to the Animus. It makes sense. But yes. Also, Dylan the Villain calling out the fact that Skull and Bones is still running is a testament to that fact. Yes. Skull and Bones, for whatever it's worth, they are still putting out content. They're still doing Twitch drops. They just recently introduced a crazy looking Kraken, which was wild to see the videos on that one. But yeah, Ubisoft, like they still support their games, and their games are massive. Like if you wanted to live in one world for a while, like you know, you're talking about reinstalling other Resident Evil games because you wanted more because it was so fun. Ubisoft is like, don't bother. You're going to be here a while. Enjoy.
Yeah. And to see Wolf Swim Assassin's Creed Unity got a 60 FPS patch this week.
Yep.
Wild, but cool, right? Cool.
Because why not? Why not?
I love when, I mean, like Ubisoft has, again, I'm going to say this for the second time. They've got a lot of problems, but there's a lot of great games under that umbrella. So
yeah.
Umbrella.
Yeah, they could definitely change leadership, and I'd be okay with that as long as they kept putting out the same games that they were doing.
Agreed. Fully agree. Fully agree. So. Logan, is there anything else on our notes? Did we answer our questions from Discord?
We haven't gotten into the questions. Okay. There were some things that I wanted to shout out. We already talked about Pocopia. We already talked about Slay the Spire. We already talked about Bungie's Marathon. Cyberpunk 2077 is coming to Game Pass. If you have not played Cyberpunk 2077 because of the issues that they had at launch, which were most definitely issues, and unless you were running like the strongest hardware possible, you were going to have those issues. I definitely did. I played on all of them. I will say 2.0 or like post 2.0 Cyberpunk 2077 is an amazing game that was lifted up because of the modders that were then hired on by CD Projekt to help fix that game. And if you haven't gotten a chance to jump into the expansion, I would highly recommend that as well too. I absolutely love that expansion. It came at the time that oh gosh, what was coming out? Starfield? No, I can't remember what was coming out around that time. There's something coming out around that time, and I was pushing to get done with that expansion because I genuinely wanted to get through all of it before like the next game release, like during that September-October timeframe. But outside of that, Luke, we always talk about legislation, and we never really get a chance to talk about Nintendo, but Nintendo tends to be pretty sue happy. But instead of shutting down like a fan made project because of the love for the IP or something that someone wanted to do, Nintendo's decided to sue the government. And I was kind of surprised by this because apparently the tariffs that were recently ruled as illegal by the U.S. Supreme Court did not really fly too well with Nintendo. Nintendo is now suing the United States government for the for refunds on the tariffs that they were charged on the Nintendo Switch 2. Which, if that's the case, I will happily take a reimbursement for the extra cost of whatever the cost was added to the Switch 2 that made it the $450. But I was very, very surprised to see like Nintendo's lawyers now going after governments instead of just leave the fans alone. Whatever they want to do with Bowser and Mario and Peach, leave those people alone. They're in their own little world. They're not hurting people. They're not doing anything. There's no one locked up in a basement. Feel free to go after the government, though. Feel free to go for the government. If that's what you want to do, if that is what will get me the next Star Fox game is your refund on tariffs, then by all means, go after the government.
A good Star Fox game would get me buying a Switch 2.
Wildstar.
I love that. What did you say? Wildstar? Yeah, no, I have it wishlisted.
Yep. Can't wait.
Quick shout out to David Burdett at SplitEnd89 for gifting an XEP membership. Thank you, my friend. You're helping us get to SGF.
Thank you.
To which he then followed up and said, appreciate you guys. Looking forward to seeing you at SGF. My friend, big bear hug incoming when I see you, bud. Really appreciate it and excited to see you. So, yeah, I got to go ahead and book.
I know. I need to sit down and actually do that too.
Yeah, big time. It's time. Let's see. We did have some questions here. Todd Oxtra always coming through big. Todd Oxtra says, if Helix is launching in 2027, what do you launch with it that makes it feel special for if first-party games keep coming to the series systems for a few more years after launch? If Gears, Halo, and Forza are all this year, what moves the needle with new systems? With a new system that probably won't be cheap. That's a fantastic question. How do you sell a system that's going to be $1,000? How do you sell a system that has been or that is likely to do dual releases? Because I think one of the reasons we've seen this generation hold back or be held back was because of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, the dual releases. I think at one point those were consumer friendly. I think the long-term effect is not as healthy. But I don't have the data in front of me. If I'm them, you have everybody would want to say a mainline Halo, but that it better slap if that's the answer, right? I think realistically, that's not the answer. There's got to be something else, and it can't be a service. And I don't know what else it could be, because like if you're launching the Steam machine, you put Half-Life 3 next to it, or you give a reason to say Steam has this, and then by the way, jump into this. I don't know what that is. I really don't know what that is. I think that's such a good question. What moves the needle? I don't know.
Every time Xbox does something that would move the needle, they're all like, all right, we're moving the needle, and never mind, it's going out everywhere. So you can just buy it wherever you want. If they want to sell a console, honestly, I don't know that if it was a game, I don't know. I'm going to say that the thing that would move the needle for me would be Blade coming out and being like a Spider-Man level kind of game. That would move the needle for me. I can't imagine that they would do something like a return to Call of Duty Black Ops, because I feel like they're putting the feelers out there for Black Ops to return with the Call of Duty Warzone stuff coming out. Like, did you hear about that? There's a Call of Duty.
Has Black Ops left? Are you saying, do you mean Modern Warfare or do you mean Black Ops?
I mean Black Ops. Like Black Ops mode, no loadouts, coming to Warzone soon.
Blackout?
Yeah.
Like Blackout or Black Ops?
Black Ops, but like Blackout.
Xbox with a penchant for branding never ceases to amaze me.
The Blackout is making a return. There was a video. You're never in the group DM, but there was a video that came out from Call of Duty that basically said that they're doing Call of Duty Warzone Blackout, and that it's going to have no loadouts. And that was the biggest, most rewatched portion of the video on YouTube. And here we go. Split End. Of course, Split End would know. Says it's called Black Ops Royale. And it looks like it's going to be Modern Warfare Warzone, but with the mentality of Black Ops or Blackout. Which, to be perfectly honest, man, I think Blackout was the better Warzone, personally.
I liked a lot of Blackout. Camera just die? Oh, it's back. All right. I liked Blackout. I had more fun with Warzone during its Modern Warfare 2 and 3 era.
Yeah.
But we'll see, right?
Yeah,
we'll see. Let's see. Go ahead.
I think if they're going to sell a console, they're going to have to do something like a new IP. But I think that the only thing that's going to really do that is something that we haven't heard about yet.
Oh, Contraband. You mean I thought I didn't know if you had like an idea, but no, I'm with you.
Contraband. That's it.
Oof. Question for Big Boss from Big Boss. Says, is anyone excited for Crimson Desert? Looks very promising. I'm keeping my eye on it around the time embargo drops. Yeah, we didn't get early code for that one. We put in a request. I'm excited for it, but I don't know that I have to play it right at launch. The game's big. I know that. I know the people playing it are not shy about the fact that this game is huge. And when I played it at SGF, I can talk about that. It felt great. It felt great. I feel like this is Assassin's Creed Valhalla with a different aesthetic and better in a lot of ways. And I mean that in terms of like scope and scale. I don't know that
Valhalla's big.
Right. But I think that game's going to be great. I honestly think it's going to be great. It just is promising so much, you know, it's promising so much. So we'll see. But I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. It's right up my alley. It's very much like just an action adventure, big open world, lots of medieval stuff, fantasy, whatnots. I will definitely be checking that out because everything that I've seen on it looks like they want to incorporate a lot of cool ideas. And if they're executed well, then that's a big win for them. Because I don't know. Outside of that, I would love to see it succeed at this point.
Game Positive says Crimson Skies 2 would help sell an Xbox. That would. He's right.
Phil was in charge.
I think it would sell. I unironically will tell you, if 1 versus 100 was there, that would sell Xbox Series blah blah blahs, Helixes or whatever. I'm I'm not messing with you. I'm telling you it would. You know how many people would jump on board that? Streamers and everything. 1 versus 100 was built for this era, not the one it was in. I think it would be great.
I don't think that. I think nostalgia glasses are a little too strong right now.
I think nostalgia is what they're going for, but it's a fair criticism, right? A fair criticism.
But are you going to get like the 45, 50 million like Xbox 360 fans to come back and be like, oh man, I love this. I can't wait.
No, I just think that if you have a game that is exclusive only to the next Xbox, you're gonna have a reason. Like people are gonna have a reason.
Talking about exclusivity on Xbox.
Sorry,
I was told that cat was out of the bag, sir.
We got companies putting things back in the bag. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I don't understand. It's like anything can change at any point. I don't know why we're thinking that there's nothing that's possible. We could just literally just be like, oh yeah. Yep. We're doing all exclusives for this next generation. Nothing's going anywhere. You're going to have to buy a console.
You're right.
I mean,
all right. I'm going to ask everybody that is watching that has not hit the like button, please do so. If you're catching this over on video on demand, please do the same thing. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, please remember to hit subscribe, share it out, or drop a review. It means the absolute world. I will also note that this week coming up, I have a confirmed interview with Scott Pilgrim, developer Tribute Games. No, I mix them up because it's Yannick Belzo, who's been on the show many times from Marvel Cosmic Invasion and Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. He's going to come on to talk about Scott Pilgrim. I'm also working to get an interview that got delayed quite sadly by the war in Iran, which is quite odd. So I don't want to tell who that one is. We'll see if it happens. It got interrupted multiple times over by political events, which is fascinating in and of itself. So hopefully that one lands as well. That's what I've got going. Logan, do you have anything you want to share with the listeners?
Nothing at the moment. Just make sure that when you are playing through World of Warcraft, that you stop to get a lot of the mining nodes and the lumber modes, so that way it has a good opportunity for you to like narrow in the focus when you're questing. But just make sure that you're getting those nodes and stuff so you can get that extra XP and the materials, because it'll help out.
Neat.
No, there's new Act 3 is going live for Sea of Thieves. That brings in these new garrisons over in the Devil's Roar, which are like big versions of the sea forts. So there's like an outer wall and then like an inner structure that you have to have like keys to open up different things. And that has got a bunch of loot, but Rare is wiping out doubloons, and they're giving cosmetics that most people probably can't afford to get outside of like the littler, smaller stuff. And Rare is trying to figure out how they can go back and focus on delivering content that's quality and tested, and I'm hoping they can get there. I really do.
I hope so too, because I want it to be good. Shout out to Machine XP for becoming a channel member. Thank you so much, bud.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you. Thank you. Alrighty, guys, that is going to be it from us. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Take care.